What's going on, everybody? It's MrAeroHD here, and we are here bringing you the start of a new series. This series, I mentioned it in my update video. It's called, it's called a Skid Smarter, which is basically a how to drift, but not necessarily limited to like tutorial stuff. So we are here in Forza Horizon 2. Everything I'm going to tell you minus car statistics and like parts and upgrades and all that kind of fun stuff is all going to be generic Forza knowledge. Basically, I'm just using Horizon 2 as a pretty background. If that ever changes for this series, I'll let you guys know. A lot of stuff from Forza Horizon 2 on Xbox One carries over to Forza 4 on Xbox 360, but Forza 5 really has its own little skill set. And of course, if you're watching this down the line, this is out before Forza 6. I will probably transfer this over to Forza 6 when the time comes. Anyway, so you are at the point right now, I'm going to assume that you are interested in drifting. It's something that you are interested in, at least in doing in the game, but you have no idea how to get started, no idea what to do, no idea about anything. So we're going to do the first step, picking a car. I know this sounds really stupid to some people, but for some people,
come on in.
Thanks for that. For some people, they might not really know what to do. So basically, the screen you have right now, if you look on the right side of the picture, you have your PI, your drive type, and then your stats. You're going to want to press, what's the button again? You're going to want to press up on the D-pad to bring up your power, torque, weight, your weight distribution, and your displacement. For those who want to get into drifting, I'll be doing this as a rear-wheel drive guide. I'm not even going to mention my personal viewpoints on all-wheel drive, but those saying, oh, you know, I'm going to start with all-wheel drive now and get into rear-wheel drive later, believe me, don't do it. It just makes your life 15 times more difficult. Just get in rear-wheel drive now, stick out through the difficulties, and keep in mind it is a little bit more difficult in Forza 4 and the Motorsport series than the Horizon series. Anyway, so what you are looking for in a car, you definitely want it to be rear-wheel drive. You know, some people may argue you can just swap it from like all-wheel drive or front-wheel drive. I find that it's best when you're trying to come up with like a good starter car to get something that just started off as rear-wheel drive. A lot of all-wheel drive cars don't transfer to rear-wheel drive excellently. There are some exceptions to this rule. Same thing with front-wheel drive. Front-wheel drive is worse than that, but there are some cars that work. There are some cars that do not. So just in case, I just suggest not using any sort of all-wheel drive car, just in case. Some of them have really wonky weight distribution. So you want something that is in rear-wheel drive. So we're going to just go down here to rear-wheel drive. So we're only getting rear-wheel drive cars now. Now, clearly you don't want something like this. It's just, yeah, you want something that you're going to look for power first. You want something that's got at least a decent amount of horsepower. This car is not going to work for many more reasons than one, but this car has 28 horsepower from a 0.5 liter engine. The problem here is that it's going to be too hard to upgrade that car into usable horsepower, so you're just going to want to ignore it. So you want something that's got between, you know, like 200 or 300 horsepower, or just use your judgment, something that's going to upgrade well. So let's take this BMW E36, for example. You know, it's got 300 horsepower. You're going to be able to upgrade it to at least in the 700 horsepower range. Perfect, great. Now you want torque. Again, this is... I don't know why I didn't mention this right off the start of the video, but everything I'm saying here is what works for me, my personal opinions, what I've learned through personal experience in playing the game. Like, it's like I need to, like it's my day job since Forza 2, so, you know, I have a lot of experience in the Forza series. So you guys, you don't have to take my word as law. You can do what you want. Ultimately, I'm just trying to give you the best advice that I can through everything that I've experienced. So let's actually kick it over to this BMW. This looks like a half-decent choice to the normal person. You know, rear-wheel drive, perfect. Got 400 horsepower, perfect. Should be set up to drift. Not so fast. If you look, you see your torque is really down compared to your horsepower. When I'm starting out, when I'm looking for a good beginner car, something to recommend to people, I'm looking for something that's as close power and torque ratio as possible. So we're just going to go on down the line here, maybe look for something. Boom, there we go. Chevy Chevelle. Let's even take this for example. It's got the 1970s Camaro. You know, look at any of these older cars, minus this, but we're not going to talk about that. But we'll go back to the Chevelle. You know, it's got 450 horsepower. That's plenty. Rear-wheel drive, 500 foot-pounds of torque. Now we're ready to drift. Not so fast again. If you look at your weight, you got 3,800 pounds there. For a starter car, I would suggest something not in that weight range. Of course, you can apply weight reduction to the car, but I wouldn't use something this heavy or something on the other end of the spectrum that's too light. But the problem is with a car that's too light is sometimes it's too responsive, it's too nimble, and it's too darty and twitchy. So that throws a lot of people off. That's why a lot of people don't use the A86 or something lighter than that. And then there's cars like this that are just too heavy, so they're too cumbersome. They're slow to respond. Basically, and they're slow drifters. So basically, it's setting you up to fall. Again, do what you want. This is just my own personal experience. Like something like this, we wouldn't use a super light. Can it drift? Yes, of course it can. You put enough time, effort, and practice, you can basically drift anything. But it's way too light, and will definitely be off-putting to those people who are looking for something that's more of a beginner car. So we're going to keep looking here. You know, so you want something that's in between stock. I'm just taking a guess here. You want something that's in between maybe like 3,200 pounds and 2,800 pounds. So when you got all said and done, you want your car to be between 25 and maybe 30,000 pounds. So let's take this for an example. Let's ignore the engine stats. You know, it's got 3,100 pounds. That's not too heavy. You can probably lower it to about 2,600 pounds. You know, it's got a half-decent amount of horsepower, half-decent amount of torque. Again, the torque's not really there, but we're just going to ignore that for a second. So we're ready to drift, right? No. The issue with this car is it's mid-engine. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, it's just going to make your front end a little bit less responsive when in a slide, and it's going to make yourself way too tail happy, especially when you're doing weight transfers. The rear is going to be a little bit too snappy. If you look in that fourth column, you can see the front weight distribution. That's how much weight is sitting in the front of the car. 41%. Want something about as close to 50 as possible. My usual rule of thumb is anything between 48 and 52 is good. Again, this number is going to change. Like something like this would be not. No. Is it possible? Yes. I'm just saying as a beginner car. Mustang's 57. Again, it's going to change when you take some weight out, but why make your life a little more difficult than it needs to be? Like something like the Honda, good 49% weight distribution. That's almost perfect. You know, the I don't know why I can't speak English today. F-Type's good. But I already had a car in mind. We are going to go... Oh, let's take this for an example again. Actually, happened to stumble upon this. Ignore every other number. This is just one I stumbled upon. Let's try this. Perfect. All right. It's got a good horsepower, good amount of torque. The weight's down low, not too low if you left it stock. The weight distribution's there. So we're ready to drift. Wrong again. Again, you could tune this car. This would not be difficult to upgrade and tune. I'm just using it as an example. For a starter car, tires are too narrow. This is a little bit more difficult to judge. Basically, some of your older cars and some stuff like that, even up until recent games, the Silvias, you couldn't get super wide rear tires. You don't need wide rear tires. It just makes it nice to have the car a bit more planted front and rear with some wider rubber, especially when you upgrade it. So try to avoid stuff like this. If you end up buying a car, check your tire widths first and foremost, especially if you've already passed this step and you're just looking for a new car to build. Your tire widths are going to dictate basically everything else that you do on the car. So I had in mind is a little bit on the heavier side, but the heavier it is, the more stable it's going to be. So this is the Nissan 370Z. I usually recommend the 350Z because it's a little bit lighter, but it's not in this game. So if you're playing any other Forza game, go ahead and pick the 350Z. But for the sake of argument, or not the sake of argument, but the sake of it's not in this game, we're going to pick the 370Z. Or Z, depends on where you're from. We don't really want to paint to it. We're just going to leave it white. Actually, that's silver, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, 30,000 credits, not super expensive. It's not like this game doesn't throw money at you like it doesn't mean anything anyway. So there we are. We have our drift car. Alright guys, thanks so much for watching. Just tune into part 2 and we'll show you how to upgrade this bad boy. Hey, thank you so much for watching. If you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of my videos, go ahead and click that subscribe button. I also have a Facebook and a Twitter. For those links, be sure to check out the description box below.